They say you only get one great love in your life. For me, that was Scarlett. We met 5 years ago on a rainy October afternoon in a sleepy little bookstore in Crimson Creek, a place neither of us even lived in, just two travelers ducking into shelter, both reaching for the same worn-out copy of A Farewell to Arms. Cliché? Maybe. But it was ours. I was working a stable job in Whispering Pines as a structural engineer, saving up for a down payment on a house. Scarlett was an aspiring writer fresh off a messy divorce, looking to rebuild. She had this mix of chaos and charisma that made you want to follow her anywhere. And I did. When she told me she needed a fresh start, I offered my place. That was 3 years ago. Now we shared everything: a dog named Tucker, Sunday rituals at Maribel's Diner, even dreams of opening a small bed and breakfast someday in Avalon Heights. She called me her lighthouse. Said I was the only man who made her feel safe enough to be herself. I believed her. So last summer I proposed. Right there in the middle of the lake during our annual 4th of July camping trip. She said yes with tears in her eyes, and I remember thinking, this is it, this is my forever. We started planning everything. The wedding, the honeymoon in Banff, even a little corner room in our future home we'd turn into her writing nook. I cashed out part of my 401k to help us buy land near the mountains. I wasn't just betting on us. I was all in. Then, 2 months ago, she started getting quiet. Not all at once, just subtle. Less laughter over coffee. No more humming while brushing her teeth. Her hugs lingered shorter. She stared off more. I chalked it up to wedding stress. But then she said it. Like she was dropping a brick into water. Holden messaged me. Holden. Her ex-husband. The man she said emotionally wrecked her. The man who, in her words, never knew what he had. Scarlett said he'd reached out on Instagram, just checking in. Said he was back in the state for work. Said he wanted to apologize, maybe meet for coffee. Nothing serious. Just closure. I should have said no. Every part of me screamed it. But I loved her. Trusted her. And when she looked at me with those soft green eyes and said, "Jasper, you have nothing to worry about," I believed her. God help me, I believed her. But I couldn't close my eyes that night. The Sandman offered no respite. I just stared at the ceiling, wondering why a ghost from her past had to knock now, when we were finally building our future. Scarlett met Holden for coffee the following Thursday. She told me exactly where they were going: the Blue Hen Cafe, a cozy little spot downtown with chipped mugs and jazz humming in the background. She even offered to share her location, like it was nothing. "I'll only be an hour," she said, kissing me on the cheek. An hour turned into 2. Then 3. When she came home, she smelled different. Not of perfume or cologne, just off. Like the wind had shifted while I wasn't looking. She smiled, said it was weird but nice to see Holden again. Apparently he'd grown up, gotten sober, and moved back to Fairgrove to help run his dad's business. "Time does strange things to people," she murmured. "He's not who I remember. But it wasn't all bad, you know?" No, I didn't know. I didn't want to know. But I let it go. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You trust them, even when your gut whispers otherwise. The days after, though, they weren't the same. Scarlett started spending more time on her phone. Said she was catching up with Holden about loose ends, whatever that meant. I caught her smiling at her screen more often than she did at me. When I walked into the room, she'd angled the phone just slightly away. Subtle. Almost subconscious. I told myself I was being paranoid. That I had no reason not to trust the woman who once cried over a dead bird we found in the backyard. Scarlett had a tender heart. She wasn't cruel. But slowly, the little things unraveled. She stopped wearing the necklace I gave her for our 2-year anniversary, a simple silver chain with a moonstone pendant. Said the clasp was broken, but I found it in the drawer, perfectly intact. She started saying she was too tired for our walks with Tucker after dinner. Opted for long baths with the door locked. Our Sunday mornings at Maribel's? Maybe next week, she'd say, and I'd sit there alone with my hash browns growing cold. I asked her one night if everything was okay. She hesitated, just for a second, but it was long enough to rip something open inside me. Yeah. Just a lot on my mind lately. I didn't press. I wish I had. The turning point came 2 weeks later, on a Friday evening. We were supposed to finalize the wedding guest list. She'd promised we'd knock it out together over a bottle of red and some takeout. Instead, she walked in at 8:45 p.m., hair windblown, cheeks flushed, holding a takeout bag from that Thai place near Holden's old apartment. I didn't even need to ask. But I did. She blinked. Oh. I bumped into him at the bookstore, and we just grabbed dinner. It wasn't planned. Wasn't planned. That's what she said. But she was wearing makeup she never puts on unless it's for a date night. I know because I bought it for her last Valentine's Day, rusted rose, her favorite shade. I stared at her, searching for something in her eyes. Some piece of scarlet that would pull me back from the edge. Instead, she looked right through me. I don't think I can do this tonight, she muttered. I'm tired. She walked into the bedroom, shut the door. Not slammed. Just quiet. Final. I sat on the couch with the untouched guest list in front of me and felt something cave in. Like our whole life was a sand castle. And Holden had just kicked it. I don't remember sleeping that weekend. It was like the house had gone hollow overnight. Scarlet moved like a ghost through it, here, but not here. She smiled when necessary. Laughed politely at my dumb jokes. Kissed me out of habit. But I could feel it in my bones, something fundamental had shifted. On Sunday, I finally broke. Scarlet, I said, trying to keep my voice from trembling. Are we okay? She blinked at me like I just asked her the weather. Then she sighed. I don't know, Jasper. That's the truth. I don't know. I sat there frozen. My heart thudded so loud I could barely hear the rest. I feel confused. I didn't plan for this. Holden showing up just stirred things I thought I'd buried. It's like I'm being pulled in 2 directions. I asked her, gently, if she still loved me. She looked down at her hands. Of course I do, she whispered. But love isn't the only thing that matters, is it? That was the beginning of the end. Over the next few days, she started spending more nights away. At her sister's, she said. Then, a friend's place. I stopped asking questions because I already knew the answers. Her toothbrush disappeared from the bathroom. Her half of the closet thinned out. I came home one day to find a folded note on the kitchen counter. I need time to figure things out. Please don't make this harder than it already is. That same night, she texted me. I'll come by to get the rest of my stuff when you're not home. I think it'll be easier. Easier for who? I stayed with my buddy Calvin that weekend. Just couldn't stand watching her dismantle the life we built, piece by piece, like it was nothing more than a temporary Airbnb stay. When I came back Monday morning, she was gone. So was Tucker. No warning. No explanation. Just gone. The leash was missing. The food bowl. His favorite squeaky toy. Even the ratty old tennis ball he refused to let me throw away. I sat down on the floor, completely numb. The silence was deafening. That stupid moonstone necklace I gave her sat in the middle of the coffee table like some kind of insult. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just sat there. And that scared me more than anything, how empty I felt. 3 days passed. Then, just when I thought the worst was over, she showed up at my door. Hair pulled back, wearing the hoodie I bought her last Christmas. And standing behind her, Holden. I swear my breath caught in my throat. I just wanted to return the spare keys, she said, voice barely above a whisper. She placed them in my hand like she was handing over the ashes of our relationship. Holden stood a few steps back, awkward, hands in his coat pockets. I recognized him from the one photo she never deleted from her Google Drive. He looked older. Worn. Smug, almost. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Scarlett blinked fast, like she was trying not to cry. Then she turned and walked back to Holden. He put his hand on the small of her back, my spot. I watched them drive away in silence. And something inside me shattered for good. Grief doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it walks in slowly, closes the door behind it, and makes itself at home in your chest. The week after Scarlett left, I barely spoke. My apartment felt like a mausoleum, full of echoes and things that used to mean something. Her scarf on the coat rack. The coffee mug with the chip in the rim. Even the drawer that used to hold Tucker's leash, now just empty space. People talk about heartbreak like it's a clean break. It's not. It's death by 1,000 ordinary moments. I tried to function. Showed up to work at the firm, nodded through meetings. But everything felt out of sync. Like I was living in a world 1 second out of rhythm. My buddy Calvin dragged me out for drinks one night at a dive bar on the edge of Elm Creek. I didn't want to go. But he insisted. She was a chapter, not the whole book, he said, nursing a beer. I nodded like I agreed. But inside, it didn't feel like a chapter had ended. It felt like someone had ripped out every page I'd written with her and torched it. At least until the letter came. It arrived on a Tuesday. Just a plain white envelope, no return address, in Scarlett's handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. The scent of her perfume still clung to the paper like a cruel joke. Jasper. I don't even know where to begin. Maybe with, "I'm sorry," though that feels too small a phrase for the damage I've caused. You didn't deserve any of this. You were the most patient, generous man I've ever known. And I treated your love like something disposable, not because it was, but because I was too afraid to believe it was real. Holden isn't who I thought he was. Or maybe I'm not who I thought I was when I was with him. It felt familiar, yes. Safe, in a strange way. But also empty. Like I was chasing some younger version of myself I'd never get back. He's not you, Jasper. He never was. He doesn't know how I take my coffee or why I cry during the second verse of Vienna. He doesn't sit with me in silence and know exactly when to speak. He doesn't fill the room like you do. I miss you. I miss us. I know I can't ask for anything. But I had to say it. I had to tell you that leaving was the worst decision of my life. I was scared. I ran. I thought I was reclaiming something, but all I did was lose everything that mattered. I'm sorry. Love always. Scarlett. I read it 3 times. Then once more, just to be sure. My heart, the one I thought had turned to ash, twitched. For the first time in weeks, I felt something. But it wasn't relief. It was rage. And heartbreak. And hope, all tangled up like wires I couldn't separate. I stared at that letter until the sun went down. And then, that night, I got the message. It was from her sister, Mia. Hey. I know this is weird, but you should know. Scarlett isn't with Holden anymore. He left. Said she wasn't who he remembered either. She's been a mess. I didn't reply. What could I even say? I sat alone in that apartment, the same one where we danced barefoot at 2 a.m., where we made burnt grilled cheese and talked about baby names, and I realized, this wasn't over. Not for her. The letter haunted me. I kept it tucked in the drawer beside my bed, but it might as well have been taped to my chest. Every time I closed my eyes, her words echoed back. He's not you, Jasper. I miss us. It made me sick. And hopeful. And furious. I tried to stay angry. God knows she deserved it. She didn't just leave, she abandoned our life, our dog, and 3 years of memories to chase some flickering version of the past. But grief is funny like that. It doesn't follow logic. You can be shattered and still reach for the same hand that broke you. 2 weeks passed. Then one night, just after 10 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I knew it was her before I even looked. Scarlett stood there, soaked in rain, hair clinging to her face like ivy on a crumbling wall. In her arms? Tucker. My chest collapsed inward. I thought maybe you'd want him back. she said softly, eyes red and tired. But I think he just wanted to see you. The dog whimpered, tail wagging furiously as he launched toward me. I knelt, burying my face in his fur as Scarlett stood there, shivering, like she didn't know if she was allowed to come inside. She didn't ask? I didn't invite her. But she stepped over the threshold anyway. We sat on the couch, not touching, not speaking, just breathing the same air for the first time in over a month. Tucker curled up between us, like some kind of emotional buffer. I messed up, she said finally. I didn't respond. I wanted to say yeah you did. I wanted to throw every sleepless night and hollow morning in her face. But I didn't. I just listened. I thought seeing Holden again would give me closure. But all it did was show me how much I'd grown, and how much I still loved you. Her voice broke on the word. Loved? Or maybe she meant to say love. I couldn't tell. Maybe she couldn't either. She looked at me then, really looked, and said, Do you think we can find our way back? My throat tightened. My heart screamed. But I just stared at her. This woman who once held every piece of my soul, and shattered them like glass. And then, before I could answer, her phone buzzed. She glanced down. Holden. Still saved under his name. The silence between us snapped like a violin string. I stood. Walked to the window. Rain smeared the glass like watercolor. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. After a minute, she stood too. Picked up Tucker's leash. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know he'd call. I didn't even plan to answer. I turned to her. But you kept his number. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. She nodded like she understood, like maybe this was the moment we'd both been bracing for. I'll go, she said, voice hollow. But then, at the door, she hesitated. Her hand on the knob. Tucker at her feet, tail still wagging like he didn't understand the weight in the room. I never stopped loving you, Jasper. Even when I was with him. I was thinking about you. And just like that, she was gone. No dramatic goodbye. No last kiss. Just the sound of the door clicking shut, like a final note in a song we'd both forgotten how to sing. I don't know what happens next. Maybe she calls. Maybe I do. Maybe we drift like leaves on opposite rivers, always wondering what might have been. But tonight? I sit in this quiet apartment, her scent still in the cushions, her letter folded in my drawer, her ghost hovering in every corner, and I ask myself, if love can survive betrayal, should it? And what if she knocks again? Would I open the door?